So I grew up in a tiny town in northeast Mississippi called Okolona, and that's actually a Native American term which means people gathering together. So I grew up with lots of connection, and there was a lot of storytelling that happened in my family, which I always really loved. My dad was he was quite a fun character. He was a banker and a farmer, and for some reason he and I seemed to bond really well when he would take me out driving to look at the farmland, and then that would lead to a story, you know, my daddy bought that farm from President Taft's nephew, and it's really important to connect to the land. And so I always loved hearing these stories. And on my mother's side, my mother and her sisters had a family summer house together in the mountains of Tennessee. And I would sit for hours on that porch and listen to my Aunt Libba tell these outrageous stories. You know, she'd have her mint julep and she'd take a drag from a cigarette and, ooh, darling, let's go out on the porch and I'll tell you some fabulous stories your mama doesn't even know. And stories about my grandmother teaching the writer Eudora Welty. And I just felt this incredible connection to the past, which then linked me to the present and really helped me understand who and where I came from. And I found storytelling as an art form when my partner and I lived in Asheville, North Carolina. And then when we moved back to Washington, I got involved with an organization called Speakeasy DC, which is a storytelling organization. And I took some storytelling classes, and then I started writing more, and I realized I had all these great stories, and I thought, wow, I think I could do a solo show. I think I could do a one-woman show. And it just sort of has evolved the last couple of years.
When the door opens and in walks this strawberry blonde-haired woman with the greenish blue eyes and the same infectious laugh. I recognized her.
So I'm really excited about my one-woman show, A Lesbian, Belle Tells. I'm performing this summer in the Capitol Fringe Festival in Washington, D.C. And I'm really excited about that because it's an opportunity as a new performing artist to share my show. And it's about my journey as a Mississippi belle, crossing over, coming out as a lipstick lesbian in Washington, D.C. And it's also about sharing stories on the porch with outrageous characters. And it's also about adventures and healing. A Lesbian, Belle Tells is both a personal story and a universal one. So it's a way for me to honor where I come from and all the different paths my life has taken me on. Some of it is comedy, but I also have very serious stories. And I wanted to really appreciate where I come from in the South and the good things that I learned in my family about connection and community. And then I also wanted to share my journey of coming out as a lesbian, because that was very challenging in my family. I received a lot of judgment, and so I've spent a lot of time healing that. Also really hoping to inspire people, all people, regardless of their sexual orientation. I really want to inspire people to connect and to share more of their stories with each other. Because I think everything is really about the heart of story in our lives and the stories that we tell ourselves, learning to reframe our stories when we've been through painful experiences. So I really want to inspire people to take more risks and be more vulnerable and have more adventures in life. I have a line in my show, good soulful food and good soulful stories, that's what begins to heal deep grief. And the writer, Dorothy Allison, who's one of my favorites, she says that to go on living, I need to keep telling stories. I'm sort of paraphrasing here, but stories are a sure way to touch the heart and change the world, and I really do believe that.